Edinburgh, Scotland, November 30th, 1996. Here on St. Andrew's Day, Scotland's official national holiday, a long-awaited ceremony is finally taking place. The occasion will finally see the return, after more than 700 years, of one of Scotland's most important artifacts, a roughly 2-by-1 foot sandstone block weighing 335 pounds, called the Stone of Scone, or as it's known according to legend, the Stone of Destiny.
The stone itself is just a stone, somewhat unremarkable looking. And yet the stories of that stone have been so powerful, reflecting so many wars and contests between nations for hundreds of years. And another fascinating aspect of this is that we know that this stone was religiously important.
The Stone of Scone has really interesting religious roots, and this goes back to the biblical tradition. The patriarch, Jacob, in the book of Genesis, has this dream at this place called Beit El, literally the house of God. He's sleeping and he uses stones to rest his head on. There's a tradition that says Jeremiah, a later prophet, takes this stone to Ireland. The stone then finds its way to Scotland.
In 840 AD, a nobleman named Kenneth MacAlpin brought the sandstone slab to the medieval town of Scone. According to Scottish legend, it was the stone itself that proclaimed him Kenneth I, the original king of Scotland.
According to the stories, when the rightful ruler would place their foot on the stone would speak out and proclaim them as the rightful ruler of the land.
It's used in Scottish rituals as a way of coronation. It's this stone that is really key. And the idea here is that the monarch isn't just selected by the people. God has chosen the monarch.
For centuries, the Stone of Destiny was considered not only one of the greatest treasures in all of Scotland, but also a legitimate means by which someone could rule the country, which is why, in 1296, the English monarch Edward I wanted it, and the Scottish throne for himself.
In the 13th century, the English come in and conquer. We always talk about conquerors taking out valuable objects, and we think of gold, diamonds, jewels. We don't think about stones. But what's one of the first things that they take? Well, they take this stone, the Stone of Destiny.
The reason Edward I took the stone was to demoralize the Scots. This was the treasure of Scotland. This was the center of their power system. And now he controlled it and had himself crowned on this stone, and then could declare that he was not only the king of the English, but the king of the Scots as well.
It was placed in Westminster Abbey beneath a coronation chair known as Edward's Seat. And thereafter, it was used in the coronations of all English rulers.
Edward basically builds it into a chair, covers it over with wood, and it becomes a throne, essentially. But the idea is that the power comes from this stone, the Stone of Destiny.
Destiny. The idea that the course of one's entire life has been predetermined by a power beyond our understanding. Back in the Middle Ages, it might make sense that people would think that greatness could be bestowed upon someone by a divine force. But what is it about this unremarkable slab of rock that still holds such importance today?
We tend to think of these rituals as somehow going back to older, superstitious people, but the fact that the British in the 21st century still will proclaim the monarch on the throne of this stone, that becomes really important. That these are not ancient, archaic people who don't know anything about the world. These are modern 21st century Brits who are still saying, that we still need to be able to show that our queen or our king comes from this divine, God has chosen this person.
Nearly every British king or queen since the 14th century has been coronated on the Stone of Destiny. It was last used in 1953 during the coronation ceremony of Queen Elizabeth II. But, as a growing number of Scottish people have begun to speculate, was Elizabeth's coronation legitimate? Because, as many have come to believe, the Stone of Destiny may not be the real thing.
A Christmas Day sensation at Westminster Abbey. The Stone of Destiny, which had been there for some 600 years, was stolen from the coronation chair.
In 1950, a group of Scottish students actually got into Westminster Abbey and stole the Stone of Scone and took it back to the altar of Arbroath Abbey in Scotland, and thus giving it into the hands of the Church of Scotland. The Church of Scotland then gave the stone back to England. However, there is a strong rumour that the original stone never reached Westminster, and that the one that is there was a fake. However, whether this story is true or not, we may never know.
A fake Stone of Destiny? It's an interesting claim, but one that is not without its problems. Because when the English returned the Stone of Destiny to the Scots, they did so on one condition.
In 1996, when this stone is returned back to Scotland, there's an agreement that, okay, you have it, but we'll use it the next time we coronate a monarch.
The point is that we believe in its power. We believe in its potency. The heritage, the traditions, the history of the stone gives it energy, and that's what's important here. If people believe strongly enough in an object, that can create a reality.